Welcome to the Thread Insights Weekly Group Discussion.
It was like a game of chicken. It was like a game of chicken, and then Lindsay lost. She couldn't. She's like, oh, welcome.
I was waiting for you.
I know. I was waiting for you.
That was funny.
Good to see everyone. I was just saying how I haven't reviewed the issues for planning breakdown, and judging by the carrots in the issues, nobody else has. So
can't carrot my own issues, right?
Yeah, it's kind of upvoting your own post, isn't it?
I mean, apparently in social media, that's a thing that people do to make sure that your posts get attention. You're supposed to vote for your own thing. Hey, with Daniel, get that haircut and all.
That was weird.
Yeah, we'd asked you to join the room. That was very strange.
Yeah.
Are you not signed in?
That might be it.
Yeah.
We should kick him back out. He's a security risk.
Zoom bombing.
With the different haircut, how do we know it's really Daniel? I don't know.
Wait, is my haircut really different?
It does. It looks shorter. Am I wrong?
No, I cut it like 2 weeks ago.
Does look different.
I'm just late.
I think it's because I don't have headphones today. So
that's gotta be it. It makes your head shape look different.
Yeah.
Well, Tiago, to your point, if folks haven't had a chance to do the review of issues for planning breakdown, technically we're not supposed to go through them, but I that's all that's on the agenda today. So I think it's worth at least discussing the 3 issues that we have on the agenda, unless if anyone else has things that they want to impromptu add to today's discussion.
I've moved one of Mihal's item to C, but I'll wait to find out what we want to do with A and B.
Okay, A and B should be quick. At least A should be. It's mostly just a question of how people want to handle this. So since I created A and B, I can go ahead and speak to them. We've been measuring our largest content painted, our LCP scores for the site speed measurements of our pages over the course of the last quarter. And we've identified our first page that needs performance improvements. There have been some challenges in making sure that the logged in pages have the right access for the user that's testing them. So as we work through these, there may be more pages, but the first one is not surprisingly the project level vulnerability report. And the expected or the goal LCP is 2.5 seconds. And there's lots of definitions on the internet around how to define LCP, and there's other measurements that we track from site speed in addition to this one metric. So this issue that I created was a spike around identifying opportunities for performance optimization. I currently have it labeled as front end and back end. I know that doesn't always work well if I should split this into a separate front end or back end issue. My assumption would be that would happen post spike, and it would happen once we've identified where the optimizations need to happen, and we create issues off of those. So, any questions about this issue?
I think for this one, we might want to investigate how site speed is measuring the changes. Because I'm actually really interested in what it means by last visual change and fully loaded, because the page itself loads fairly quickly, but it needs to pull a lot of data from the backend in order to display everything on the front end. And although there might be things that we could do to improve the speed, it's also one of those things where we're kind of limited in that we have to display a lot of stuff. So there's not a whole lot that we can really do if we're limited by that factor.
I raised at some point that I thought the LCP was wrong for the vulnerability report page, because if he was measuring the time when everything is loaded except the results, that page is sort of useless without the results. I mean, you do get the counts at the top, but I think we're really interested on the table results or not.
because the GraphQL is batching the requests, it's everything is actually held up by getting the list of vulnerabilities.
Even the counts, you see the spots, but they're all 0.
Yeah. Well, actually, you don't even see that at all. You see the loading spinner, and then everything comes in at once. So I've actually looked into a little bit on how to not batch, but it looks like Vue Apollo doesn't have the ability to individually turn off batching for various queries. So we may have to like hack around it by doing like a small delay in order to get out of that batching time period. Yeah, I mean, so I've done a little bit of looking into this, but so there are things that we can do, but it's like I said, like there are other things that it's like you said, they may not be meaningful in to see something but not actually see the thing you want. Or on the other side, it's that we're limited by how fast Vue can render things, and so there are certain things that we can speed up, but there are also certain things that our hands are tied.
So I guess the crux of this issue here, the 2 points. One is we want to understand what the numbers mean so that we can decide whether the number is acceptable or not. And then the second part is if the numbers are not acceptable, how do we go about improving them? Am I cool?
Yeah, it might just be that we do something about the batching, because it is right now, if you look at like a big project like the GitLab org group report, it takes at least in the middle of the night for me, it takes like 17 seconds to load everything. But in the meantime, all you see is a spinner on the page. And while we may not be able to reduce the total time from 17 seconds, we can progressively show more stuff as they come in rather than waiting for everything at once.
We could skip the first part where we say it's unacceptable, you know. So Daniel measured 17 seconds. I don't see 17 seconds on that table. So
You just pulled that number from somewhere.
well, from his eyes,
yeah, you
right?
said 17 seconds. I know we're nowhere near 17 seconds. We're like at 3 seconds. But I think what you were saying is there's period you were saying when you test this, sometimes you see delays up to
yeah, sometimes
a large number of seconds.
It takes a really long time, yeah, sometimes. So
Daniel, you've expressed interest in this to me when we've talked about similar topics. Would you like to be a DRI on the spike for this?
Yeah, sure, I could do that.
Ooh, Tiago Sharon, I can't wait to see.
I gotta be logged in.
That was less than 17 seconds.
I did.
Oh, I know exactly how fast our error pages and our access, our 403 pages return.
So Daniel, though, did you say though you were actually looking at the GitLab org vulnerability report? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
That's why, right? We were talking about 2 different pages. Lindsay, I think that this the site speed measure one is a test project, which
That's
I
correct. So
guess has way less results.
Definitely. So if you look at the report that this is tied to, it is the URL should actually be, it's an example project.
There you go. That was a few seconds. That was closer to what Lindsay said.
Yeah, to Matt's point, we don't want to measure things against the GitLab.org project because that I don't think is indicative of what most of our customers see. But I mean, it's a great load test scenario that we inflict upon ourselves every day.
It is. I heard the opposite, Lindsay. Instead of actually doing the work, we just need to pick a test project that loads faster. Yay.
I don't think, I'm not going to say I seeked out a test project that had very few vulnerabilities, but there were some out there that only had 2. And I'm like, I don't think that's going to work. So
I'm only partially kidding.
Sure you
because
are.
the fact that GitLab org is such a massive footprint doesn't take away from the fact that we may, and I'm actually fairly certain we do have customers, especially on legacy projects where they turn on all those scanners, are going to have these very long loading pages. So I don't know if that makes a difference in the approach here, but it's certainly something worth considering. Like I would love to see that 17-second come down because Daniel, we're trying to dog food it, right? Every time you accidentally click on that page, it's you got to sit there and wait for a third of a minute.
How do we feel about because right now the vulnerability page loads 100 vulnerabilities at once. How do we feel about reducing that to like say 50, which would directly increase the speed, but then also make it so that when you scroll down, it has to load more.
It loads 100 at once. I thought it loaded 20.
Oh, you're right. It loads 20.
Do you
I'm
have
getting
a
confused.
special 100 version? Because I know people would
No,
like
no,
that.
I'm sorry. I'm getting confused with the project filter.
So yeah, I mean, I think it is 20 today. I don't know how we can go too far back from that.
Yeah. Ignore what I said.
Okay.
So
No.
if Daniel picks up DRI for this, then I think the backend would just wait for his say, you lot need to improve this and that because I can't do anything about it in the front end.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
There is an issue in the backend for improved performance for vulnerability report. Is it related somehow for the next milestone?
It would be totally related.
It would.
Not
It
this
would
is
be.
not this specific issue. Oh, here we go.
No,
Thanks, Mark.
this, yeah.
Oh, look at Tiago's on top of this, man. I didn't know this was here.
He knew it was coming.
Oh wow, it's mine.
Good you.
A month ago.
Yeah, crystal ball was working that day.
Like why this person created it and never linked it to anything?
So are these duplicates, Tiago, you think? Well, no, this is a test that's failing.
But it is for the same, it is related. Yes.
It is,
Yeah.
We
So
may
I'm
find
gonna link
something.
them.
Thanks, Sebastian.
It's a good
No
find.
problem.
Thank you, Will, as well, because I think Will brought it up.
Yeah. So between these two issues, between Tiago and I, we'll figure out which one sticks and assign it over to Daniel as the DRI. And as long as that plan flies with you, Daniel, that you might be creating issues for backend work based on the spike. Obviously pull in backend engineers for their input as needed, but that sounds like a good plan.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Cool. The second one I added was a bug, and I think this was really just a question of whether someone could look at it and tell me if it's front end or back end. I know we have a bot in place that should assign these things off once it's in refinement, and I could just put it there and let the magic happen to decide who's going to do that. If that's our process, I'm a little unclear on with bugs the triage process that we have in place today. Thoughts?
Interesting.
Smells like backhand, but
I didn't want to assume.
that came out wrong.
It really is bad. We should probably take a dump and examine the logs.
I'm not gonna
just to confirm.
I'm not gonna use this phrasing anymore.
What a code smell means.
There is an issue between inconsistent vulnerability state. I just sent the issue. Is it?
You're on fire today, Subhashis.
Sounds like. No, it's these issues are assigned to me. That's why I know a little.
This sounds related. It may not. I mean, one is I think about. No, yeah, these could possibly be duplicates as well.
Yeah,
I'm gonna just link them for now.
that's a good idea.
I will say they probably are related because while I opened this one, I think I opened it for Philippe, who reported the other one. So it was as a matter of course of him showing me something related to that.
Yeah, they are using different projects as examples though. So they could. It's nice to combine two bugs into one where you have more than one data point. So it sounds like since Sebastian is already doing the refinement for this one, hopefully the other one will come along with it. Would you mind, Sebastian, looking at the other one and confirming that you believe they are the same root cause? And if not, we
Sure.
can keep the other one open as a separate issue.
Sure, I can look into it.
That's my part of the agenda. Thank you, everyone.
Make a note of it.
I just thought of something that I would like to bring up.
Yeah, do it.
So this might be a question for Andy. I'm not too sure. Let me pull up the issue here. And I'll go ahead and share. Okay, so we have this one issue that's to update these messages. So on the security dashboard and the vulnerability report, the two messages both say the security dashboard blah, blah, blah. And so this one also says the security dashboard blah, blah, blah. But it's actually the vulnerability report. And so I worked on this last night, and I noticed that the only difference between it, the issue wasn't completely clear on what we should change this message to. So what I did was I changed this part to say the vulnerability report displays blah, blah, blah. But then everything else is the same except for the words after the. And so same here. And so the question is, or the implementation is that I have to actually put two different strings in two different places. And depending on whether you're on the security dashboard or the vulnerability report, it will just change what this one like phrase says. And I guess the question I had was, is it possible for us to combine the wording somehow so that we only have one sentence, which would simplify the code a lot?
I think so, because we're really just trying to generate a call to action to configure scanning. So I don't think we need to have like an upsell here. If you can get to this page, you already have ultimate. So maybe ping me in the issue and I can wordsmith some things and then see what tech writing thinks.
Okay, cool. I also noticed that, what was it? This person. Where was that person? I'm looking at the correct
This
issue.
originally came from, was it Becca?
Yeah, Becca, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would she be someone that I could ask about this as well?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I think she designed this, what was it, 2 months back, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So you can ping her as well.
Yeah, this was split from a bigger issue that also included some vulnerability or threat management stuff and secure stuff. So it was supposed to be across all of protect and secure.
Yep.
I should link that here. There you go.
Close design issue. Yep.
This was probably before we split out the dashboard.
I don't think it's that old. I could be wrong. Maybe her work was. It's only 3 months ago. We split out the dashboard longer ago.
Oh, okay. So it's current.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
if
mean,
we could get one string of copy, that'd be ideal.
Yeah, and that would make the error pages a lot easier to manage, because then I don't have to pass in two different strings depending which page you're on.
Yeah.
We would just say vulnerability management instead of calling out the individual pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking for that. Like if I could just write in vulnerability management and it would apply to both, that would be great. But I'll ask in the ticket just for confirmation.
Mhm.
Cool, thank you.
Track,
Daniel,
manage, and monitor vulnerabilities in your application.
Could you throw the link to the issue that you're working on the agenda for anyone who's watching this in the future?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks, Daniel.
Then I'll stop.
I put it under the follow-up from previous discussions. All right. We have one more issue under planning breakdown from Mihao, and we have a few minutes. So do we want to try and talk about this, because it is currently blocking the bulk status updates
Yes, please.
feature?
So Matt and I talked about it a little bit, and Andy has already replied with some suggestions. So just for the benefit of everyone, this is the issue. And this is where it started with a very simple question from Savash. He was implementing the status update, and he found out that the stage change, it was only taking a comment for dismissal. And then we all looked into it. He said, it should be simple. And then he had to go back and say, it's actually not simple. So without getting into this whole background of of how this happened. The options that two things, right? Is there a way that we can continue with this and change the scope so Savash can continue the work? And then the second part, which is a little bit harder, is how do we want to solve this so every state change can accept a comment?
Can I ask one clarifying question?
Yes, please.
When we created these two epics between the bulk dismissal types, the bulk status updates and the dismissal types and reasons, there was a lot of overlap between the two. And we created this issue that I'm adding to the agenda right after Miha's question around exposing dismissal reasons and comments. Am I missing a relationship between this issue and the problem that we're trying to solve?
I think we split it because we didn't have the dismissal reason and comment, so we went ahead and did that. But we only did it for one of the dismissal reasons is dismissed, right? I think there's 4 of them.
Well, this work is still in progress, and Sebastian has it assigned to himself. So this work isn't complete that I'm pointing to. And I guess I was under the impression that this backend issue represented the data points that was required for not just the dismissal types, but also the comments for the bulk dismissals.
And you're correct. The problem is, depending on the reason you pick, the comment won't be recorded.
Until this other work is done.
Yes. The only change of status that we can accept a comment for, I think Savash mentioned here. Here. Is this one. Only mutation for dismissal accepts comment. So if you're changing to any other status, you can't put a comment in. So then I was asking Matt and Andy, could we go ahead with doing comment just for that while we figure the backend out, i.e. this issue here? Or do we need to do it in its original scope, which affects the planning breakdown for this one?
Yeah, so my take on this one is I think it's better to take what we've got while we work on filling in the gaps. Having a comment for a dismissal is probably most important out of any of the status changes. So the fact that we've already got the ability, I would say let's push forward with that instead of holding back all commenting until we get the ability across status types.
That's cool. So that means this here doesn't really require a planning breakdown anymore, because it becomes, I think, just a backend tech debt issue of sorts.
Gotcha. So one question, the comment from, or maybe not a comment, so the other issue, the one that Savash is working on, it said at the top there was a debate between comment or dismissal reason. Is, if it makes sense, would it be appropriate to consider renaming the dismissal reason field to just reason? Just because there are some cases where confirmation resolved may also eventually have similar sort of sub-reasons or whatever you want to call them.
The backend has already implemented it as calling dismissal reason. If we want to change the front end and not change the backend, might create more confusion than not.
What are you looking to call that field, or is that field not going to exist on the mutations for resolved?
They all be the same.
Oh, it's going to be called dismissal reason?
They are all, yeah.
Well,
Sorry, Dismissal reason is the state that you changed for. Comment is what the user types.
Right. So I guess what I'm saying is right now, if you were to change something to resolved, there is no dismissal type. You would just, in the future, you can add a comment. But what I'm saying is eventually there may be resolved, like
Right.
no longer detected by scans, resolved manual intervention, resolved whatever. So there may be these other more specific automatic statuses that would be applied like that. So if you called that, you know, resolved dismissal reason, that would be really confusing. You could call it resolved resolution reason or resolved reason, like that's fine. I guess what I'm saying is if it makes sense to have the same field across all the different statuses or not, now might be a time to consider doing that. Your future maintenance coder will thank you for not having a resolved dismissal reason field. Oh no, I've blown Tiago's mind so hard he froze.
Oh, I really just thought I was thinking. Yeah. He's got his eyes pointed in the right direction and everything.
Oh no, his LCP is
Is it
way
frozen?
over.
It's spiking.
Is he having Zoom issues too?
Oh.
All right. I think I caught what you were saying, Matt. If you want to try and summarize it in a comment in the issue, that might be good.
Yeah, I certainly can. And again, this is like I'm kind of poking my nose into the details and the how on the back end. I agree it's confusing that we have a dismissal reason, which is only attached to one of the statuses, and then this comment, and it's injected a lot of confusion. I don't want us to sort of put ourselves into a corner when and if we decide to, you know, do something similar for the other statuses.
Well, and using the right words helps with the conversation, not just the coding. So, yeah.
Is it dismissal reason is relatively new column?
Ask your question again, Subhashish.
Is
Question.
dismissal reason is a relatively new column, or is it like old column? Like in the data?
So today we have a status change, and one of the statuses you can change to is dismissal, and that's it. There's no dismissed as won't fix or false positive. There's just dismissed, and we want to add sort of a sub. We want to add a reason specific to just dismissals.
And it should have been in there for a while because the dismissing has been traditionally the only thing you could have done.
Yeah, on the
Did we
vulnerability details page, you could select won't fix or false positive.
That's what I was
think
missing. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Tiago.
The question is too hard, so I faked a network problem.
Just kidding. Fuzzy. All right. Well, it sounds like we're wrapping up. Was there any other questions about this issue? Or Tiago, do you have all the information that you need for someone in the back end to be able to run with this?
I think I do, but I just wanted to show Matt what's on the what's in GraphQL at the moment. Can you see the screen?
Mm-hmm.
So this is what you pass when you call the dismissal. There's a comment which is free text for the user, and then there's the dismissal reason, and that's one of these. These are the reasons.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that there'll be reasons other than dismissal reasons. There'll be reasons for the other status changes.
Right. So there very well could be things that are reasons for resolving an issue.
Got it.
I know on Nicole's team, for instance, they've got their dependency bot that they've been working on for a while. So there may be something that's resolved because a dependency was upgraded. That would be the reason.
Closure reason.
Closure reason. Oh.
Because every termination is either resolved or dismissed. And any of those states require justification. Confirmed, doesn't matter. Detected, we know.
I think we'll come to that bridge when we, well, what is it? We burn that bridge when we come to it. Because this is already tied to dismissal. the reason there, you're not going to be able to reuse this in this state. So if it makes sense to make it more generic, having an example of what it looks like, it'll be worthwhile. Basically, we won't save any time by renaming it now, is what I'm saying.
Okay, no, that's perfect. Okay, because we are speculating about future changes that are not worth blowing up your bridge now.
Awesome. So I think we got what we need, Lindsay.
Excellent. And look at it, it's 2:30. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Everyone.